Learn to be super successful. Subscribe to my channel, Meathead.
14, 15 years ago. And unbeknownst to me, she had fucked every male in her class, just about, and all the males on the staff. I don't know anything about it. And she said, I can't help myself. You can't help yourself being stupid. Some of you are 25, 30, whatever your age is. You can't help yourself. It's like when I can't relate to this, but I know intellectually, when a baby, wants to suck her mom's tit for milk. You put anything in their finger, I'm told, I never did any of this, a finger, whatever, and it sucks on it. It can't help itself. Most of your responses and most of your questions from yesterday, you can't help yourself. And for those of you that say, and there's a reason why I beat this to death, because it's a main source of the only aggravation I have in this shit. For those of you that say you read everything, you heard it right, there's a few of you, liars. Well, Josh came in his exit interview of about 7, 8, 9 years ago, said in the drawing room with me sitting next to him, 95%, just like Mr. Peña said, 95% of all the things I was worried about never happened. I'm going to say it again. 95% of the things I worried about, Mr. Peña said that would never happen, and they never happened. But you can't help yourself. Those few of you that have a little business, or a couple of you have a medium-sized business, manage in the way that you can't help yourself. Because the only role models you had were who? Your parents. And occasionally a couple of you that didn't have parents, I think there's one, you should have lucked out there, but you didn't. You still fucked it up. But you didn't see the real rare opportunity that you didn't have any parents. And they feel sorry for you. Hear on the news all the time, these kids in, not Biafra, that's another war, Gaza. Those little kids without parents may be getting a better leg in life than we think. Because kids don't do what their parents tell them to do. They do what they see their parents do. And when TK gets up here at 10 o'clock, he and his wife are extraordinarily great role models. And their little kids, like he spit, and the four of them. Fortunately, they look like their mother, not like him. And they're great. They're already on their way. Just like the Carlin kids. Dropped out of school. You can drop out of school here at 16. You don't have to go beyond 16. And he's already made a few acquisitions, and he, I think he's rolling up sports bars because they're kind of like titty bars. I'm not sure about that, but that's what I think. If I were 17, 18, I'd be rolling up titty bars. But he says the contrary. The QLA seminar is not just a seminar. It is a blueprint for creating generational wealth as fast as humanly possible. I teach you how to turn nothing into millions, billions, and even trillions. If you want to take control of your life, to create a legacy that lasts for generations, the time is now. Do not wait for the right moment. The right moment is this moment. Be bold, be selfish, be ruthless, and take no prisoners. I will still do seminars, but I won't be able to do this forever. Act now or not at your own peril. Thank you very much. So a couple of the calls that I got were from people that, for them, they put 110% in. And I can tell the difference if it's a perfunctory effort or a real effort. And the first test of that is when I go sometime today, I normally do it at lunchtime, I read your homework. And I'll be able to tell instantly who's here for a jolly and who's not. The backward bicycle last night. We've only had one person. We don't use it anymore because it was such a distraction, because you guys wouldn't give up on it. We've only had one person. He was 7 years old. He came with his father to pick up his mother, who was the CEO of a big company in Europe. And he just got on it and rode around, and he tried to ride it the right way, or the way that most of us learned how to ride a bike. And so that didn't work, so he just instantly did it. We've never had anybody else do it since him. Why is that? Comments from the peanut gallery. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
He's young. He hasn't had the trajectory of brainwashing and encouraging to not try and so forth. So he's open and flexible.
Your wiring, the younger you are, that's why you can learn foreign languages much easier when you're young. The wiring isn't permanent when you're 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. Self-esteem is built the first 7 or 8 years of life. And your self-esteem, to the extent that some of you have it, is fragile, shall we say. At best, fragile. And this program, the very building block, just like there's only one moving part, the motivated seller, well, the building block of this program is self-esteem. And the guys and gals, I'm still not used to saying gals in addition, but the guys and gals have difficulty. But once you build self-esteem at your individual's age, it's there permanently. Because you had to make a concerted effort. You had to go out of your way. You had to go against the grain. All those metaphors. And you did it on purpose. Whereas if you have self-esteem growing up for 7 or 8 years, it wasn't on purpose. Unless your parents, like TK's and his wife and the Carlines and a few others, many of the kids on that wall have QLA dumbed down on after church on Sundays. And as I've mentioned many times before, I believe it was EJ's idea to do QLA for Dummies, because we thought it would be for kids. It turned out it's for you. So we wrote it for a 4 or 5-year-old. And that seems to, we haven't figured out a better way yet. But some of you read QLA for Dummies and just think it's a cute, kind of cartoon thing. Barron Trump, I assume, was anybody in this room, and don't be embarrassed to say yes, was anybody in the room raised like close facsimile to Barron Trump? No, I don't think so. Unfortunately, my kids were. And if I had it to do over again, well, I probably wouldn't have kids, but if I had it to do over again, I would have beat them like a rented mule. Because they were raised in a privileged manner. They used to be embarrassed when security in the limo would take them to their private schools. We had the longest limo in Texas, and that's saying something. And they used to make the driver and the security guards drop them off 10, 12 blocks away from school because they didn't want the other students to see how they got to school. And then they'd walk. So I think it's less conspicuous having 5 bodyguards walk with you to school than the car. But although they liked the car a lot, they fucked it up, and the sunroofs and all the shit that they played with, they had a good time. But they were embarrassed to be rich. Embarrassed about me. When they were about 14, 13, 11, what did your daddy do? Our daddy went down in a plane crash. Remember when John Denver went down in a plane crash? Are you old enough to know that? No. I was on the same plane. Because they were embarrassed by me. How I talk, where we live, butlers and that kind of thing. And that's what you're striving for. 2 or 3 of you will be embarrassed by it. sometimes, and TK's family is a religious family. Not all the guys up there are religious. I don't want to mislead you in any way, shape, manner, or form. But it was easier for them, and I have to mix metaphors here, to give their soul to QLA than it will be for a lot of you that don't believe in a higher power. I mean, really believe in it. For some of you, it may be impossible. And when the difficulty comes is when you start, the whole program is hard, but an additional difficulty is when you're recruiting board members. And you have a little script, which you'll learn in a couple of days. And the magic words you want them to come out with, heck, I'm really interested. This sounds like a terrific program. If I can add value, subject to conflicts, I'm interested. Those are the only fucking words that ought to come out their mouth. If any additional words come out of their mouth, next. I just got an email from one of the up-and-coming stars, and he narrowed it down to 3 people he was going to interview for the CFO position. And the first 2 asked for money. Straight away. Asked for money. Next. And for you to say next will be difficult. The words will have trouble coming out of your mouth. Okay, so Baron Trump, any comments since you weren't raised like him? Yes, sir.
He was a mama's boy.
So was I. My cousins that are still alive, that are older than me, I was sewn at the hip to my mother out of fear of my father. I now know that. I didn't know that then, but and I was a mama's boy. And except on the schoolyard, I wasn't a mama's boy. I was the biggest kid in school, and I fought all the time. But he was a mama's boy. Now that he's switched schools now, I'm told, from NYU to someplace else. And they're not really sure he's enrolled in that school, but it's just, when something gets on the internet, whether it's true or not, doesn't make any difference. But Baron is raised with an additional je ne sais quoi, as the French would say, than his father, the president. And I believe, I don't have any information to say this is accurate or not accurate, they're trying to not make the same error as they raised the other Trump kids. And a few of them have some, character flaws. In fact, the whole family has character flaws. What was the other thing you saw? Pardon? No, I said the backwards. Were those Baron and backwards, is that it? Okay. I look forward to reading your homework. Any general questions? Ma'am, you're looking like you want to raise your hand.
I was going to comment on the fact that as a mother, it's important. It actually worked out, and also
I forgive you for being a mother. It's all right. You don't have to apologize.
Well, he had a very nurturing mother, but
Correct.
he also had an alpha father, so that balanced it out, and I think
Well,
that's where it works.
I had
really
a
well.
over-nurturing mother and a animal alpha father, so I got more animal than the nurturing. Once I got past 10, 11 years old, all I wanted to do was be like Dad. And I couldn't do it athletically. I was telling TK last night, my dad, I couldn't catch a ball. I have peripheral neuropathy. The nerve endings in my hands and feet were dying when I was born. And it's an arrest, more or less, now. But I couldn't catch a ball. I could tell you about my baseball career, lasted 1 game, and I dropped the ball in center field. I was center fielder, and we lost 5-4 in the playoffs. Anyway, I got stories that fill up a sports book. But my dad was an All-American gymnast, had a 56-inch chest, 27-inch waist, never touched a weight. He was all-state, track and tennis, and I couldn't catch a ball. To his credit, I think it's to his credit, he never mentioned it to me, but I could tell that he was less than pleased with my lack of athletic prowess. But all my life, once I got past the nurturing stage, and this all plays out in my real life, I look for things that were dangerous. I look for things, I couldn't match them in any way that you could think of in athletics. But I sure as hell did it in business and in doing, I don't know, the courageous, fucking psycho things in life, But that's part of the reason they say Barron is the way he is. But he gives very few, if any, interviews. I was scheduled to have dinner with him the week before the president got shot, or remember, Kat? Oh, anyway, he asked me to dinner, and it never happened because the president got clipped in the ear, and so that never happened. About the same time, I was struck off, who's that psycho on the radio with long hair? Is that a radio show forever? Yeah. I was struck off his program, and I was struck off going to Oxford the same week. No, exactly. They gave me a reason why they decided they didn't want me to go to Oxford, but it was a horseshit, it was a bullshit reason. Part of the reasoning was that I was more qualified than the professor that was teaching the course, but anyway, which is probably true. But since none of you, and even a partial way, know what the experience of the young Trump kid went through, in some ways that's going to make it easier for those of you, the few of you, that hit the big time. There'll be just as many people that have to struggle because you haven't been around people. You haven't been around presidents, prime ministers. You haven't been around heads of banks, the Secretary General of NATO. You haven't been exposed to those people. Now, I don't mean exposed in a bad way, which is kind of prevalent now with all the pedophiles running around. I'm talking about exposed to, even down to, what silverware do you use? And some of you will be intimidated by that. And you shouldn't. And even though I say you shouldn't, you're still going to be intimidated by it. The first time you go to the White House, is anybody in the White House here? No, okay. The first time you go to the White House, it's pretty awe-inspiring. I thought it was awe-inspiring until I went to the Vatican. All the other places I've been, pale in complexion to the Vatican. They know how to do the pomp and circumstance right at the Vatican, mainly for the Pope. Although he's just a regular guy, looks like you, kind of. Got more hair than you, but just, so that wasn't too awe-inspiring. So these are some of the things, and as I read your homework, day by day, I'll ascertain where you are on the continuum, and then I will change the slides or change my talk. We have 2,990 some slides. We use about 200 or 300, depending on how quick you get it or you don't get it. Depends. And the written word is more important to me than the verbal word that whether English is your first language or not, here in the classroom. Because talk's cheap. And some of you can muster a sentence or two and not really mean it, or have to think it through. All the high performance people I've had the privilege of being around, not one of them, to now, may happen tomorrow, says, I'm working on it. Everybody in this room says that, except me. That's where you are today. You're working on it. This is part of your working on it program. As I've said many, many times, this is the world is falling apart like an Armageddon kind of thing, and this is the last town on the precipice. The end of the world's over here, and you're on the precipice. This is the last bar on the planet. I'm the last bartender to listen to your horse shit. You've tried everything. You listen to 80 zillion podcasts. You've seen all the gurus. Some of you once, twice, 3 times. You're part of the platinum program, or this program, or that program. And you're still here because it hasn't worked out as described. But all the programs, even the chicken shit ones, which most of them are just chicken shit programs, require one thing in common: take action. And most of you haven't.